Our buildings, generally the 4 occupants, create 200 litres of moisture per week.
Shit.
So from cooking,
Showers.
showering, heating, that's generally it's 200 litres is recorded of moisture.
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. We are back in the shed this afternoon for another cracking episode. I'm really excited about this one. I think it's going to be very educational. I know there's a lot of people sitting on the fence when it comes to high performance, healthy homes, better building practices and those types of things. So the two gentlemen we got here this afternoon are probably the best people to help us get our heads around some of the products and the things we can be using to give our clients better homes. So we're actually lucky these guys have made it here. One of them bloody hit a kangaroo on the way up and nearly rode his car off, and the other one's had gastro earlier in the week and nearly didn't make it here either. So big warm welcome to Devin and Kevin.
Thanks. Yeah, we made it.
I thought Joe was playing a joke on me when he gave me Kevin and Devin.
That's it.
What's happening, guys?
We're in sunny Queensland. It's nice to be out of some cold weather at the moment, which is good, and settled in for a bit of a holiday myself, which is lovely.
Yep, I'm very happy. It was 6 degrees at Melbourne Airport this morning when I got there, and it's not 6 degrees now sitting here, so I'm very, very happy too.
Yeah, so before we get into more of your background stuff, so you guys have a business that sells high performance membranes. Well, that is your business, isn't it?
Yeah, our business is performance membranes.
Yeah.
So we sell the Proclima range, and that's our core business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, I feel like we're at a bit of a turning point in Australia where these sorts of products are really starting to get sort of requested more by architects, designers, and there is a lot more people, especially homeowners out there that are wanting this sort of stuff. Is that what you're seeing?
Definitely, yeah. So there's probably multiple reasons for that. People approach it from different angles because in particular the Proclima suite of products, the systems that they have sort of address a number of things. And so sometimes it's about, ensuring the energy efficiency. Sometimes it's about having a healthy home. Sometimes it's about the durability because it hits all of those marks. And so you're seeing the inquiry come from all different areas based on those different perspectives. But definitely there's a groundswell. Like we're at the front of the wave, and it's happening. We, as a business, we did no, when I started probably nearly 3 years ago now, we did no outbound marketing at all, anything. I think we reposted some stuff on Instagram, from builders that use our stuff, but that's about it. We had no outbound and we were growing 100% year on year. Yeah. For a while there, we did our first expo, I think in June this year. So yeah, the market's coming to us. Yeah. And awesome. So that's the beauty of it for sure. And
look, it's like I was hearing, I have another business, Live Like Build, where we train and mentor builders to run better businesses. And one of our, we have our 6P, which we revolve everything in Live Like Build around. And one of them is sustainability. And I think you guys know quite a few of our members from down Melbourne way. And I follow lots of builders on Instagram. You're always seeing people talking about this Proclima stuff. And I'm like, what's going on? What is this stuff? Because we, honestly, until... we've got some projects we've been working on ourselves recently, which we've used it. The boys are actually wrapping another one of our jobs today in Proclima. It just wasn't spoken about up here. You couldn't even walk into a hardware and ask for it. So, and I think my first introduction to a high performance membrane was one of your competitors when we did our first CLT house. It come out pre-wrapped in this product. So. I think they're fantastic. They've got so many benefits, but how do we convince more people to use them?
I think it comes down to durability of the product compared to others on the market. Comes back down to a full system control. You're managing moisture, rain, that could be moisture from the inside or outside with humidity and that sort of thing, and cold temperatures from the inside out and from the warmer temperatures outside in. So managing that humidity, and then we're obviously also talking about condensation and mold. And so
condensation's massive now. Obviously all the new changes in the NCC, they're bringing those changes in for a reason.
Yeah. And mold is now in the NCC, right? And that now is a requirement for the builder to manage. And we're seeing a huge change in that way for builders to be like, how do I avoid mold? Because it's not a matter of, is it moldy while it's getting built? We all know we have 10 years of liability here.
Yeah.
And what's that 7-year phone call look like when there's mold in the building or that sort of thing? And there's processes, I guess, or products that you can put in place to reduce or minimise, eradicate, your liability.
Is it 10 years down in Melbourne, is it?
10 years as a builder, yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I think it's 6 years, 3 months up here. But anyway, I take no notice of that. I think ultimately a builder's really responsible for the life of the building if they've done something wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's the shift to the mentality in a lot of builders, is that we're seeing the stop, and this is what we have to do. It's probably one of our biggest messages. We just have to stop building buildings that only last 10, 15 years. We need to build buildings that last 50, 60, 70 or more.
Yeah, 100.
If you can, in terms of doing that. And so part of that is, I think, builders are educating themselves more in definitely, like the clients, the actual homeowners or building owners, because it's not just homes that use our products. It's a huge commercial market and stuff like that. They're being more educated as well around that. And lots of that is to do with the fact that now we live in a connected world and all of that. And so you're seeing what happens in Europe and America and other places like that. And so there's more education around. But also, like, people generally know, well, far out, we've been doing this for 50 years the same way, and we've got some problems here, maybe we should do something about it.
I think it's incredible, like the whole world is jumping on this save the planet sustainability sort of thing, which I think is fantastic. But we have these, I don't want to put a particular word on it, but like we literally have thousands of homes out there that are getting built for with a design lifespan of 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, it's insane.
And so how the hell is that sustainable when in 20 to 30 years time you're demolishing a house, crunching it up and putting it in a hole in the ground?
Yeah. And that's you're only thinking about the house itself. The truth is that if it's deteriorating that quickly over that amount of time, it's not healthy anyway. So the occupants of that house aren't doing well either, probably. The fact that it's deteriorating so quickly, etc., means that the environment's not healthy anyway. So there's the add-on cost of even that, like the healthcare and stuff that comes along with that, let alone just the products themselves and what they're doing, like in that environmental sense.
Yeah.
There's such a huge flow-on effect, and you're right. Like I think it's one of the biggest industries in Australia. By dollar, I don't know. You'd have to have a look.
Building.
Yeah.
I think all up by the time you take in all the suppliers and wholesales and all the other businesses that go with it.
I think mining and it's kind of like in terms of dollar value, but definitely in terms of employees, I think it's one of those the largest, if not the largest.
Yeah.
So it's weird that it's not taken more seriously in one of, if not the largest sector in Australia.
So I just want to clear something up for people that are listening. So by using Proclima, Proclima can be used on a normal house. Yep. It doesn't have to be a passive house.
It doesn't have to be a passive house. And that was part of our, our business used to be called Passive House Construction Products, was our business. And 70% of our sales are conventional construction methods, high performance homes. And then you might have 30% at the moment of the market we're selling to is passive house. So we branded 2 performance membranes earlier this year because we were stopping that conversation. Like, this is about building better. It's about building like long-term, durable buildings. It's not just around specifically passive house.
Yeah. So for people that are listening, builders, tradies, homeowners that, I guess, don't understand the importance of the wrap, because that's what you're replacing the old sarking.
Yep.
Yes.
With a high-performance product.
That's correct.
So, can you give us a little bit more insights?
Yeah, sure. So, the way it was done before, maybe Dev probably explains this maybe a bit better around the raincoat analogy. You want to hit that, and then I'll go into
when I was an apprentice 15 years ago, as a chippy apprentice, used to your boss would be like, half a day, get the house wrapped. You're using these hammer tackers that would cut your fingers in your nail bag, and you're putting this foil on, right? And you got no idea what you're doing it for. I had no idea. My boss just said, put it on tight so it looks good. And then you go through this journey of learning about, I went through 2015, did the passive house course, and why are we wrapped? It's protecting the building. So we're protecting the building from basically water pressure from the outside, be it rain or wind or anything like that. So we're wanting to basically put a Gore-Tex jacket on the outside. A Gore-Tex is like a wicking type product that can let moisture out. We're stopping water or moisture getting back into the building. So that's essentially what our weather tightness is. So our roof membrane or our wall membrane, and we call it membranes is what we call it, and I think the rest of the world call it now, compared to sarking like we traditionally have.
Yeah.
So the principle is that the structure of the building, the part that you're never going to change, you know what I mean? You renovate your bathroom, you might pull plaster off tiles, whatever, you repaint, you do anything like that, that's fine. But the structure, you think of the wall studs, you know, your rafters, etc. That's the bit that we want to protect because that's the bit that never changes. And so when we wrap that and seal that up and stop moisture from affecting that, that's the bit that matters in terms of durability. Also, at the same time, you affect your efficiency because you're sealing it up so well. And then because of those things, you also have an outcome of health. So it's really those three pillars. We're about building healthy buildings, energy efficient buildings, and durable ones. Yeah. And so the membranes do all of those things. And whether you
some membranes.
Proclima membranes. Yeah, sorry, very, very clear. Proclima membranes. So the ones we sell do all of those things. Now, the key factor with these particular ones that really separates us, there's a number of small things that we can talk through, but the really key one is that these are monolithic, not microporous. And every other membrane on the market, or sarking or etc., is... well, if it's legal, is
not a foil-based.
Yeah,
products,
that's right.
Yeah.
If it's legal to actually use, needs to be vapor permeable, but they're all microporous. And what that means is that the structure of the material itself has very small micro holes, actual physical holes in there where moisture can go backwards and forwards,
like the pores of your skin.
Exactly.
Opens in the hot temperatures, lets moisture out, closes up in cold temperatures. But because of that movement all the time, you don't get durability out of it.
So this is
microporous
foil ones.
Yeah.
No, foil's illegal.
Yeah. Our climate zone.
In our climate zone, you can't use foil. So that often those aren't microporous. They're actually vapor blockers in terms of how they work.
Up here we haven't used foil for a long time, but like you have a porous or non-porous.
Yeah.
Depending on the cladding system you're using.
Yeah. So basically that, it's essentially there's little holes poked in it, right? Porous versus not porous. Yeah. So that's the difference between like pores being open or closed, whereas our products, the Proclima products, are what's called monolithic. So the moisture moves through in its molecule form generally from the inside pushing out, the inner molecule form. So it doesn't have holes in it. So it's watertight, weather tight. And that's why there's a UV stability and a warranty period of 180 days or 6 months. Yeah. Whereas all the other products, no one else can provide that. So you can wrap your walls, wrap your roof, and you've got a warranty period of 6 months of a watertight building. And that's what gets you longevity, because you don't have a product that's constantly opening and closing as a membrane, letting moisture, dust, air through that membrane. Because over time, anything that constantly moves wears out and breaks down.
Yeah. Oh, the amount of renovations we've done, and you pull down an outside wall and the sarking's literally just fallen down and filled the cavity.
Exactly.
Like it's doing nothing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, if you look at that, some of the sarking, actually, if you read it, the instruction is that it's not UV stable and you have to clad immediately. Some of it says a couple of days, some 7 days. I think the longest we can find is 30 days or something, maybe a couple of months or something like that. But ours are at 180 days, so 6 months. So, and that's the point of the durability, and that's what monolithic gets you in terms of durability itself.
And what's the warranty on the actual product? Is it 100 years?
There's a 100-year adhesion warranty on the tape.
Yeah.
And the membranes, it's more like what they're good for. The warranty here is the same.
Who's tested that? Like, has it even been around 100 years?
Proclima's testing is incredible in Germany. Right, they've got membranes that have been set up since 82 or 81 when they started, that are still on the roof in full exposure in roof applications. Not
covered up.
Some are covered up, some are not covered up. But their whole German technologies, they won't come to market unless it's really locked tight, which is sometimes frustrating because there's some good products that we try to get here and wanting to get to market. They're really applicable for our, but they want it like code mark, brands appraisals, facade testing. It's the whole box of dice to know that you as a builder could buy the product and any building surveyor is going to approve all of
Yeah.
the testing data, facade testing, wind zones, anything like that.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes back to the, I guess, as a brand, the Proclima brand, why it stands so strong is because it's a proven performer. And I say in the training, because I run the training, install training, and I say, like, I'm not going to be here in 80 years to test the adhesion, right, of the tapes. But, hey, the fact that you've got a 100-year warranty means that it's not letting go. You stand behind the product.
Yeah.
The adhesive's going to work.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, I was going to say they have some special UV machine that tests and can do years worth. It obviously doesn't take 10 years to do a 10-year test,
Yeah.
but it doesn't take a day. Like, it's quite a long period of time for them to do that. So in Australia, we talk about that being UV stable for 180 days. That's in our climate with our UV. So we have products here. The roof one, where actually I'm looking at the model. You guys obviously can't see it on the podcast. We're going to reference that to a video after that. Is that right? There's going to be a link there somewhere for you to get to. There's a little model to explain that. But there's a roof membrane there that doesn't exist elsewhere. The external tapes that are used doesn't exist elsewhere in the world other than New Zealand, because our UV is so full on here that you need products that are appropriate and tested here. So maybe check if the products you're using are actually been tested in our UV conditions, not just any, and also obviously if they're all brands appraisal and code marked, etc. These ones have been, and so the proof is in the pudding in terms of how long they last. But it's not just in the UV exposure. Like the monolithic structure, that solid structure that doesn't allow, there's no holes in it. And it's hard for people to get their head around, because the moisture actually moves through on the molecular level, just passes through. It's more chemistry.
I've seen a demonstration. We recently purchased a little bit of product off Stewie Shelton from the Shelton Group. I think he's in Northern New South Wales rep or something. But he showed us where he had a glass of boiling water with the steam, and he put it over it, and like one way went through and flipped it over, the other way it didn't go through.
Quite amazing.
It's incredible
how that works. So
I picture it in a way that, like, say you go to the snow and you're wearing a good quality Gore-Tex jacket, right, compared to if you were wearing a plastic poncho. If you were a plastic poncho, which is traditionally what our foils have been and that sort of thing, you'd sweat up. It would be really uncomfortable, right? Whereas if you're wearing a good quality jacket, like a Macpac, Kathmandu, whatever you want, with a Gore-Tex layer in it, you don't sweat up in that. So it lets that moisture out, but you're obviously not getting wet from the snow or anything like that. So if you put it in that perspective, it's an easy perspective as a person to be like, okay, that's how it works. And if we wrap our buildings, generally the 4 occupants create 200 litres of moisture per week.
Shit.
So that's how much from
That's
showers,
just an
cooking.
empty house with no one
With
living
4
in.
people. That's with 4 occupants. Yeah. So from cooking, showering, heating, that's generally it's 200 litres is recorded of moisture.
Moisture is
created,
expelled from occupants in a home.
Yeah.
Far out.
and use, obviously, just of the home and stuff like that.
Look, I got to put my hand up, because you get into the industry because you want to be a plumber or a chippy or whatever, and you become a builder, and you're taught bad habits.
Yeah.
And unless you break the mold and be a bit open-minded and ask some questions, talk to guys like yourself, you don't know about all this shit.
Yeah.
We've wrapped houses I'm sure we've wrapped some houses in the wrong wrap. It's just like you try and talk to it's actually been really good. Like, I think in the last, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, 6 years, it's been really good seeing a lot of the cladding suppliers. And look, I don't know if their products are as good as yours or not, but specifying a whole system.
Yeah.
I think that's what's been missing for so long. There actually hasn't, everyone's been, use this, bit of this, bit of that, bit of this, and it's just been this piecemeal put together.
I think of it in the way you don't go buy a rolling chassis from Holden and then you take it down the road to Kubota and you get a 4-cylinder diesel bolted in, right? The Holden, essentially the model you buy off the showroom, is designed engine, running gear, the windows, everything is a holistic approach. And I think that's the way the building industry is moving personally, is a bit more of a holistic approach from a builder being in control of the input of the aircon or a ventilation unit or the wrap and the insulation or the building type. That's changing, I think, personally, from my experience as a builder, of that holistic view of the building.
Well, I think the biggest change we're seeing, and I think we're definitely big drivers of it with Live Life Build. We do it's called a pack process, so pay as a consultant. So I'm seeing a huge shift in the industry for builders, designers and architects actually creating teams and collaborating more in those early stages, so that whether it's designer or the architect or the builder, but have people having input. So like, or it might be a homeowner coming along to a builder and say, hey, I've found this Proclima product, like, what do you think of it? Can we investigate using it on our home? And then obviously getting in touch with guys like yourself. So I think there's a big shift coming, I think, and I think you guys are in a good position to really run with it.
We hope so. We're definitely investing in the market.
You're setting up a branch in Queensland?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're based out of Melbourne at the moment. Obviously, we can ship anywhere. It's, that's easy enough to do in terms of doing that. We've got down there. We've got actually a purpose-built install training facility. So actually train people how to install wraps correctly. How that's done, details. Obviously, you're talking about a system, not just the wrap itself or the membrane itself, but all of the appropriate window taping, seal tapes, liquid adhesives, and how they join to slabs, subfloors, etc., roofs, box gutters, rafter details, all the rest of it, the whole lot. So that's the only one of its kind in Australia. There is no other membrane or sarking place where you can go and get trained on actually how to do that appropriately.
I think that's huge, eh? Look, I feel we teach our team, and our team does a really good job. Like we, even when we're using other cladding system sarkings, like making sure it goes right from the bottom right up to the other side of the rafter, nice and tight, it's all fixed off. And again, I'll put my hand up. Like Stewie pointed this out to me only, I don't know, in the last 6 months or so. Like your sarkings actually have to wrap around inside your window jambs and sills and seal
we're
all that
protecting
up.
the fabric of the building at the end of the day from moisture, and so it's and that's what we talk about in training. It's protecting the whole fabric of the building. So we're looking at wrapping it into our wall frames and doing our sill tapes, so that sort of thing. So we're just protecting the building in its entirety as the structure.
But you like, how many jobs do you drive past, especially in like volume housing estates?
Oh,
and
no,
the sarking's flapping around in the wind, and like you see like the chippy comes along to the cladding, or the sparky comes along and they miss something, so they just run their Stanley knife down it, and
that's right. You may as well create another door there, into the building. And I think like builders also have to see it as like a insurance policy behind their cladding type. So let's say you fully wrap your building, you tape to your windows, you seal up your building correctly. Then when you do have caulking break back from foam or a timber cladding on a second story or something like that, you've got a full rain jacket behind your cladding, instead of just depending on the caulker on $7 a linear metre, to do a good tight job from your window to your cladding. End of the day,
mate, if you're relying on your caulking to seal your job up, I'm sure there's a lot of guys.
I was going to say, don't like. And so predominantly, that's what it would be. Do you know what I mean?
It wouldn't even be the caulker; it'd be the painter. It'd be the painter coming along with a gaps gun.
And that's what it comes back to. And then you have to be like, well, how much do I want to spend on callbacks as well in that way? Yeah. So spend a bit more money on the wrap. I understand that, and taping it properly. But that's your first layer of protection. Then you do your claddings, etc.
And that's why it's a system approach. It's not just a wall membrane or a roof membrane. It's all of the bits and pieces together, and that's where Proclima is so strong, that there's a full system. There's a full external, what we would call a WRB, weather resistive barrier, weather tight layer, however you want to nominate that. And the idea is that, again, that the whole thing is connected. It's one system in terms of doing that, and that's where the protection comes from, so that there's no weak points in that system. And then we're talking about, again, protecting that structure, the frame, the rafter, that's the bit that you want to last. That's the bit you need to dry out. That's the bit that you don't want moisture getting in, so that you stop the mould, etc.
Yeah. Look, it's definitely something we're putting a lot of time and energy into. Like the job the boys have been wrapping today, I think I spoke to you a little bit about this last time we caught up. Like, I'm still... at the moment, we're using Proclima for all the walls, and we're still putting the Anycon blanket on the roof. We're running the Proclima right up and onto the rafts a little bit, so the sarking's actually lapping it.
I always say Dwayne, I say incremental change, right?
Yeah.
Me as a builder, I did the passive house course, right, in 2015, and it changed my whole perspective on building and building better and longevity of buildings, etc. Building really well. But it wasn't a matter of me being like, I'm going to build passive house tomorrow, because that wasn't going to happen, right? But it was like, on all my jobs, I started using the Proclima products because I was exposed to them and how they worked. And then I was insulating my wall junctions when I wrapped my job, because it's on the energy rating anyway, right?
Yeah.
And then I started insulating around on my windows and taping my windows up. So, and then on the next job, it was like, okay, can we do a HRV or something like that? Because I'm wrapping up pretty tight. And then I started talking to my window suppliers about what type of windows can I get that are better performing. Like, you know, I've got a piece of aluminium and a single waste aluminium window here that's just acting like a radiator to my entire living room.
Yeah.
Like, how can I break that and put some good glazing in? Just those conversations that it's like, you don't have to change it all today, but it's like, I wrap my walls and tape my walls up and my windows better, and I'll put my insulation in my wall junctions on this job. And the next one you quote and you're like, all right, we're going to tackle the roof wrap, you know, or doing a ventilated ridge, for example. And it's just like each job, because building takes a long time. I talk about the building industry being like a barge, right? It moves really slowly, and that's just the way how it works. And so it's like each job you just can include that next layer and have that conversation with the owner, have the conversation with the supplier and that sort of thing of how to build better with each project than being click your fingers and the next house is going to be a high performance house out of CLT and etc. So it's about like, well, I've got this $700,000 job down the road, it's coming up, can I talk to the owner about wrapping better, and here are the benefits for them, durability, you know, efficiency wise and health wise, and then be like, okay, the extra 2,500 or 3,000 in material cost is a small percentage of the overall building cost. It's not like we're changing the roofs to terracotta from Italy type thing. It's a very small change on a building project, but it makes a huge difference in the long-term livability on the project.
I'm definitely sold on the wall wrap and all the tapes and sill tapes and things. I think it's a no-brainer, and I think I know there's going to be a lot of alarm bells ringing from things you're just saying. Like, there'd be very few builders that take the time to have a bit of insulation on site before they start putting their sarking on, and they miss the joints in the corners and the wall junctions. And like my other pet hate is like when you have your internal ply bracing on and people put their sarking on and there's a big part of the wall that hasn't had any insulation put in it. Like, have a bag on site, the boys put it in before they do the paper. But I think it's just, for us, it's been so much quicker. Like, for a start, I love the massive rolls. Like, what are the rolls? 2.7.
I got 1.5s or 2.7s in the wall wraps.
Mate, it's one run. Like, generally, most walls, it's one run and you're done. Like, and you staple it. Like,
well, the roof comes in 3 meters as well, so it's a 1.5 and a 3 meter. So the roofs, if you get to that point, are the same. Like, they can go real fast.
Yeah, well, we did the roofs on these, the three projects I've showed you, but and I've heard Hamish talking about it, and Mark from MVH and Stewie, and I didn't believe that you'd be able to put a sprinkler on the roof and like it's all sealed up. Like, like it was, literally an hour after putting your wrap on. Like, we got the hose out, we stood on the roof and tried to see if we could get water through it.
Yeah, that's right. I think I was going to say, I'll just put my sales hat on for a second, and I'll mention something Dev said then about realising the incremental change 100%. You know, that's the way to go. Take one step at a time, and we're there to support you through that. You know what I mean? No condemnation maybe in terms of, okay, that's where you're at. That's great. It's better than what you did yesterday. Isn't that what you always want to do as a builder? Do better than what you did yesterday. So great, step in the right direction. The argument to say that I need to go to the owner to get the okay is questionable, because the membranes themselves, if you put them on, can offer benefits to the builder, particularly financially, that you'd have to look at the numbers on every build, but potentially can benefit you anyway. So if you wrap the roof, per se, let's say you do wrap the roof, you don't do the intertwine, you put the wrap on the roof and the walls and you seal it up, Well, now you've got a weather-tight box. And I'm talking like in the middle of a storm. I remember the first time I did training with Dev, it was like, my goodness, it was out of control.
Yeah.
And we are dry. Like there's no problem. There's no water coming in, nothing like that, because it's absolutely, I mean, they're watertight to 10 metres of water pressure.
Yeah.
So that's a PVC pipe, 10 metres of water with the membrane on the bottom. And I can't remember if it's 24 or 48 hours, not a drop.
Yeah.
So you don't have any worries about water coming in. And so when you do that, now as a builder, you're running 2 programs because you've got an internal and external. So when it rains,
yeah, no downtime.
So
you're inside.
Your frame's finished.
So
you've
now
got the job.
I've saved you on the on-site toilet, the fencing, the supervisor costs, on all the weeks that you can save at the back end of the job in terms of doing that, let alone because you've used a quality product. Now, when the apprentice roofer doesn't do quite the right thing and there's a small leak, okay, if it's a big leak, you need to address it. But if it's a small one, it's going to run onto the membrane if the building methodology is right. And again, we'll reference the model, which you can see afterwards, but you'll see in terms of ventilated cavities and stuff in the roof, then the water's only going to flow down into the gutter anyway, even though the roof fails. Now, normally that's not going to happen, but in this case it will, and you won't get a callback. Now, what's that one callback worth if you're on a second story?
Yeah.
Scaff, roofer, everything, the whole lot. My goodness.
Oh, again, mate, like the amount of renovations we've done. Like, so I know there's all this talk about mold and stuff. I haven't had a lot of experience with it. Like, touch wood, I think we build good homes. I'm not aware of it in any projects we've ever built. And a lot of renos we've done, we've never seen it. The moisture problems we see in homes are generally around bathrooms and wet areas, from faulty waterproofing or whatever, or roof. Like, there's always signs in every house on the plasterboard of somewhere where water has gotten in.
Yeah.
And so that's it right there. And I say, okay, if you do the numbers and you think you need to talk to the owner, I'd say as a builder, if you work out the numbers, I reckon we're probably saving you enough money anyway, let alone the sleep at night factor.
Look, this to me is like we talked a little bit about off air, like to me, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like builders use this excuse too much that they've got to compete on price. And this is definitely something that I'm on a mission to change. Like I believe builders need to set your own standards. Like every builder out there, you choose what you want your lowest standard to be of building. And if that is wrapping every building you do in Proclima, then you don't even talk to the client about it. Like,
that's a great standard, by the way. That's definitely where you should start.
But it should be across the board. Like builders, instead of competing on price all the time.
Yeah. There's builders out there who say that I include solar on all of my jobs, and that's now the standard.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. It's like, this is our method. This is the way we do things because I can provide a 2-stage project. My chippies don't disappear and I'm not looking for them to do work because the roof is still 3 weeks behind his project. They can be internal plaster straightening and roughing in the job even without a roof on it. So that's there.
But even if there's builders out there that are worried because it's going to cost them a couple of $1,000 more to wrap a building up, like even if you do want to mention it to a client, like it's, to me, again, it's a no-brainer. Like you educate the client on why you want to use the product. And 9 times out of 10, most clients are going to go, look, it's a no-brainer. Like if that's going to give me a better performing house, better outcome, healthier home, I'm happy to spend the extra money.
Yeah.
Like so many builders, I think, drop the ball because they don't educate their clients. So the clients can't tell them what they see value in. And they just think they have to race to the bottom on price all the time to win the work.
Yeah. That's the premise of our business. In truth, yes, we make money, pay our wages by selling product, but we don't have a product business. We have an education business. Yeah. We know that we have a service-based business and we are educating the market, the entire market, on how to do this better, how to build better homes, and in our particular case, obviously, using high-performance membranes to achieve that end. And so everything we do is based around this education and service. We just happen to sell stuff that actually allows us to do that job. Yeah. And that's actually why it's going well, because that's our passion, to help people, is actually to say, you can do this better and we can help you. And when you see people, you know, I don't know what the numbers are, but in terms of people, once they use the products, let's call it they convert, for want of a better word, that number where they don't go back from there, like where builders say, that's it, I don't care if they ask or not, it's priced on every job I'm doing from this one forward, once they use it once, would be higher than 90%, 95 probably and higher. There's a few ones that we've dealt with that, it's been specified, they don't really care too much, they just did what they were told kind of thing, they didn't really care. But anyone who's come and got educated about it, used it, they just, that's it. They're sort of done, this is what I'm doing. It's such good product to use. Like you said, it's beneficial in terms of a bunch of things. It's a full system to do all of these things. It's durable, it's healthy. There's all these, so many benefits from it that people just say, well, this is a no-brainer. I should put this as part of what I do. And so that's generally what happens.
I want to ask you a few questions because, obviously the passive house builders out there, it's a no-brainer. They're already going to know about this stuff. But for builders out there that aren't building passive house, can I ask a few questions about things that they might be wanting to know? So we've talked about the cost. So it is dearer than your normal sarkings. Installation, I feel the few jobs I've done, it's quicker.
And that's really if you do some training, like install training as well, or watch some videos, it's quick and it gets it done.
Obviously, it depends on what level you go to. If you're putting all your steel tape in that, it might be a tiny bit longer, but I think overall, I'm finding it quicker.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a good product to deal with in terms of, even you talk durability, but you talk about the robustness of the product. Like, you can't tear it. Do you know what I mean? In terms of where that is. And so you're literally just using a sharp knife, a stapler. We'd recommend, if you, particularly if you're up on the roof walls, you might get away with something pneumatic, but generally there's a DeWalt carbon fiber thing that's geared in the handle, stapler. Use a T50, that's kind of a standard staple that goes in there. And that doesn't hurt your hand. You have that on your hip, and that's about it. Like, there's not too much to it, and it's very, very simple to install. And particularly if you come and do the install training, or you understand, we can actually walk you through that and stuff like that. When you understand the process, it can be very fast in terms of getting that done. Yeah.
Do you have to have a batten on the outside of it for cladding? Or can you put your cladding straight onto it?
Generally, yes, you do. I think in our climate zone, you need to anyway. So you wouldn't put that in. You need a ventilated cavity down in Melbourne. It would vary in different places, but you want to ventilate the outside. So what's going to happen, we'll do a quick science lesson. Can we do that? Yeah. So what's going to happen is, in terms of moisture management, so we all understand, moisture is going to move from hot to cold. That's the moisture pressure in the air. So if say we're at home in Melbourne, if I'm inside and it's winter, then it's warm inside, cold outside. So the pressure, that moisture, where that's going is going from the inside to the outside. So it's actually pushing through the plaster into the insulation and then trying to get out of the building, which is why, where we are, we're not allowed to have vapor blockers on the outside anymore. They need to be vapor permeable. You need to have moisture be able to get out of the insulation layer, so you stop that from happening. In summer, it's the opposite: hot outside, cold inside. So you have moisture pressure actually coming in. Again, in that particular climate zone where we are, there's no real moisture in there because it's relatively dry. You go north up here, it actually is. So now moisture becomes a problem in summer, because actually you've got inward diffusion going inside to the house. So you need to manage that in terms of how that works. And so that's the actual issue that we're trying to fix in terms of doing that, is where we manage that moisture, which way it's going all at once in terms of when you have those membranes go on. And so that's the sort of key in terms of.
So I guess I have noticed a lot of the cladding suppliers now are adding a batten to their system. So that's obviously part of that, like creating that extra ventilated cavity.
Ventilated cavity just breaks that thermal break as well. Like an air layer just provides that heat or cold, slows it down getting to the building.
So the moisture's coming out, and that's the point of that ventilated cavity, is the moisture comes out and then it can dry in that cavity. It can roll down. So if you think of a roof, it's probably easier to do on the roof than on the walls. If you think of a roof, you've got moisture pressure coming from the inside. It'll come, sort of past your rafters, let's say, through the membrane. It'll hit the underside of the roof sheet. It'll condense. It'll drop onto the membrane. Let's say you don't have what we call a counter batten, which is in line with the rafter.
Yeah.
Bit hard to, if you can visualize it, but in line with the rafter. You just have a normal roof batten, which is horizontal, perpendicular, so horizontal. If that horizontal batten is sitting directly on the membrane, the moisture comes through the membrane, condenses on the underside of the roof sheet, drops down, it tries to roll out. It hits the batten, sits there. Now, if that has a lot, and again, you've created horizontal like baffles in your roof, and so now there's no movement of air, so you've got multiple issues because now you've got heat problems in summer, let alone moisture in terms of other times of the year. And so if you ventilate that, if you lift those horizontal roof battens off the membrane and allow ventilation underneath it, what happens is the moisture comes through, condenses on the roof sheet, drops onto the membrane and goes out. So you've got a drainage plane. It actually goes out of the building. But you've also got, in addition to that, in summer, if you've got a pitched roof, it's going to draw like a fireplace. Cooler air is going to come in at the bottom and hot air is going to expel at the top.
And so stack effect?
Yeah.
Is that,
so, exactly. And so what happens is your roof's not working as hard. You know, under a roof, what does it get to? Like 90 degrees?
We've done testing for, and Monument's the hottest colour. At the moment that we've tested was 96.8 degrees. The Proclima tested, we tested about 50 roofs.
Yeah.
Even beyond Night Sky, we thought Night Sky would be hotter, but Monument's the hottest. And all the other products are only actually tested to 70 degrees. So under a roof, it's getting to 90, and the other sarkings are only tested to 70 in their code marks.
Yeah.
Ours are tested and certified to 110 degrees. Yeah. So it's a big difference. Like, I'm sure I would hate to hop into a Queensland roof in the middle of summer. You know, that's, you know, we had the pink bats scandal where people, you know, had passed out and stuff. Like, it gets hot. To know that your product's not going to break down in that heat, you know, when it does come to in that way. So
is it recyclable?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
I think the point of the product more around the ecological bit is that you're protecting something, the large mass of the building, for a very, very long time for a very small amount of material in terms of what it is. And so that's the real premise in terms of what it is. I don't know that it's designed to be recyclable. It hasn't been around for that long anyway in terms of,
so
you know, like, to do that.
Like, if it's got a 100-year warranty, like, it's... Yeah. Like, if a building lasts 100 years, you've done really well.
Yeah, and that's the bit, is like you're actually saying, I'm going to protect everything for a very, very small amount. So actually, again, really quickly, so Proclima started with a paper-based product because of that reason. So it was more recyclable, ecologically sound, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The problem was durability. You still can't protect the building for that long, like only a few years, it starts to break down. So they did go to a polymer-based product, but that was the point of it, is like you're paying a small cost, but you're protecting everything for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And so that's the basis, is the overall outcome. We can, and some people do. Some people get caught up in that one product isn't this particular thing, and that's the desire for sure, that as many as we can in every way.
Yeah.
But really what we want is the overall outcome is the best.
Well, you want to build things that are going to last.
And that's the bit. And so we can protect all of the other things which are recyclable, all the other things which are, you know, more sounded, more whatever, and so do better. So if you can do that, then we think that's the best way to go about it.
I think you touched on it before, like the beauty that you can keep structure for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to come in and tidy up your bathroom or do a new kitchen or renovate a bedroom, like, it's all good. But your structure, when you cover it up with products like this, is going to last a very, very long time.
Oh, truth is that in 50 years, you could peel your facade off, because it's worth doing it at that point, rewrap it, reclad it.
Yeah.
Good for another 50, I reckon.
Yeah, yeah. And that batten you're talking about, the counter batten or the wall cavity, like, it literally only has to be like 20 mil. Like, I know a lot of guys are ripping down like treated decking in half and just using that for their battens.
Yeah, so Proclima recommends a 20 mils a minimum. The 45 is the max. And if you do higher, you get more draw in that, you know, like we were talking about, you're going to get hot air expelled at the top and cooler air coming in down the bottom in your roof per se, and in your walls as well, you know, depending on, you know, how much sun exposure and stuff that you get. But 20 is sort of the recommended sort of detail. The truth is that if you're doing a job today, I have to be very careful here, and this is going off the reservation in terms of Proclima's recommendation. The truth is, guys, if you're doing a job today and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I was going to put my cladding on, I've already got my windows in, I don't have a lot to do. The truth is that a 5mm packer that pulls the cladding off the membrane that will allow something is better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
That is the truth. It's not what you would recommend, but it's better. So if you can do that, if that's a position you're in, and we often find that people come and like you, they learn. Just now you're thinking, far out, things are going off in your head, light bulbs, and they're like, but I'm in this position today, do something.
You've got a sheet of 7mm ply left over on the job, and it's just ripping packers out of it or something like that. So you're not having to fork out extra money, but it's just getting some sort of, again, it's just this incremental change and doing things better, you know, step by step.
So those are always vertical, just to be clear. So those what we call counter battens. So they're in line with your wall stud or with your rafter. So you're basically sandwiching the membrane between the two pieces, essentially, is really how it works, between the stud and the external batten, or the rafter and the external batten, and they're in the vertical sense always. And then your cladding. So if you had horizontal cladding, that would just go directly on that. That's fine. If you had vertical cladding, you would then have a horizontal batten, and then like that.
Yeah. So what's your guys' background? Like, what makes you so passionate about getting involved with these membranes?
Yeah, so for me, I'm a DBU. In Melbourne, it's Domestic Builder Unlimited. I'm not sure what it's classified as here. But I started my apprenticeship 2005. You know, as a chippy, went through that whole journey, did my apprenticeship, went out on my own, wanted to start my own business, and I did in 2013. And I guess I did a tender for a project, and it was a passive house. Never heard of it before. It was a building surveyor, was the client. He's like, I want to build a passive house. And so he's like, there's a course coming up. You should go and have a look at it. So 2015, I did that course, Passive House Tradesman course, first one run in Australia, and it really just changed my perspective on building and building better. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to do passive house, or I want to pursue that and build better, I want to sort of try it on myself. So I built my own house as a certified passive house 6 years ago now. We moved in, and I love it. Like, often I walk around in shorts and a t-shirt, and it could be 3 degrees outside.
It's so annoying, because I live in a 1950s weatherboard that you can see the ground through the floorboards, and we live in virtually the same place.
In Melbourne, right, it's a 20 square house, cost me $450 without margin or anything at the time to build, and that's triple glazed windows from overseas. It just changed my perspective on building. And then at the time of building that, I had one person who's our other business partner, Justin, to talk to. He's in Hobart. He's had experience with it. So I'm like, no one else has done this taping. No one else has done these type of windows that I know of in Melbourne. So I'm like, relying on all these phone calls and YouTube videos, which wasn't as strong, let's say 6-7 years ago now. And so in that journey, then starting to get the products in for other builders and do that with Justin, performance membranes has become my main thing rather than building. And a lot of that is because I get such great satisfaction out of helping builders achieve high performance house and passive house without the hard-earned learnings. Like, I lost money on quite a couple of the first passive houses I did. And if I can help builders, like, I've done 10 certified houses myself, and lots of high performance homes, right? But if I can help builders make it less intimidating, achieve a really good outcome, and have an industry that essentially, really like the saying of rising tide lifts all ships. I love to help people get better, and to see the satisfaction when they hit an air tightness target of a high performance home of 1, or air change, as a blower door test or something like that, or just build better to limit their liability, or to have a homeowner be really satisfied with the outcome. I really enjoy that. I've done building for enough years that, I enjoy the change, I guess, rather than being a builder at the moment. But I like being able to get on site, do the training with guys, or get on site and see them and actually see how other people build and help, the industry as a whole get better.
I think it's really important that you've come from the industry. Like, I think for anyone that's out there trying to make change, like, it just adds so much value when you've actually been in the trenches doing the work yourselves. Like, you've learned all the experience, so you can go out there now and, like you said, tell guys what they like all the hard yards. You've done the hard yards. So.
Lost some money on some projects, which isn't fun, but the fact is that you can do it. You can do it really well. You can do it for affordable prices. We're not talking, when I was designing my house, people said to me, so you're building a high performance home, you're building a spaceship, right? Yeah. But it's not that. My house is in Mount Dandenong. It was the first certified house in Australia with a fireplace. We opened the 2 windows next to the fireplace. When we were on the fireplace, my wife wanted a fireplace. That was it. So we did it. But it's a matter of that, we built a weatherboard house because I'm a carpenter. I've got pine-lined eaves, recycled red bricks. It's a traditional home. Yeah. And you couldn't see it any different from the house next door, but it's a certified passive house that uses bugger all energy, and is a comfortable, enjoyable home.
Yeah, awesome. What about yourself, mate?
My journey's a little bit different, and I have quite a checkered past when it comes to the construction industry. Technically, I'm a qualified mechanical engineer. Not that that means anything because I never used it or anything like that. I did 5 years with an architect after that. So I really had a passion for buildings, etc., and things. And then I did some other stuff in the middle, a bunch of project management and stuff. Worked for a builder, did essentially a construction startup doing multi-units for a while. Had a fair bit of knowledge around town planning and general construction, and so that was really helpful and with a sales bent. And so did some other things. Then Dev and I were friends for a while, and then I was actually doing something else. I was doing a startup business, and during COVID that sort of ended that, and I spoke to my wife and said, I think we had a startup and I had some investment and we were doing that. And I said, we have to stop. We're spending all this money. We can't actually do anything with it. COVID's ruined it. We have to pause, I said, I think I should get a few days work a week or something like that. And she said, I think that's a good idea. We should do that. And then Devin rang me the next day and said, hey, what are you doing these days, And I said, actually, I'm looking for a couple of days work. He said, because Ruben, who we was talking about before, he's leading hand. He was looking to do more in the building business, and so Dev could spend more time in the membranes, was leaving. And so Dev had to go back into the building business. And then obviously he was looking for someone to come into the membranes. And so we're both very relational people. So the business that we have is because it's so service-based, is very relational. So the three of us, Justin, Dev and I, we deal with, I don't know what the number is, we've never done, but it might be between 400 and 500 builders or something at the moment. Yeah. And we would know, one of us would know, that could be connected with over 90%, 95% of those on a first name basis.
Geez, mate, you've got some knowledge for someone that, so what have you been doing this for 3 or 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin, when he started, Justin, the
technical
partner
lead
of the business, he would call him our technical lead. He lives in Hobart, so we get to send all the owner builders who want really the trenches.
Yeah.
How does
What's the vapor permeance rate of the blah blah? We're just like, here's Justin's number.
Yeah, but so he's our technical lead, but Kevin and I relate really well to one another and work well together. Yeah. But he gets to deal with all the phone calls and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
it's a very, very steep learning curve. So I had definitely have a gift and ability to learn a lot. I'm very passionate about this kind of stuff. And so for me, it's really two-pronged. I have a passion to build a great business in terms of, so I definitely come on, technically we have roles. I'm a business development manager, but when there's only 3 of us, let's face it, you do a heck of a lot more than what you need to, or
Karen
what
in the office too.
Your role is. Oh, sorry. In terms of
Karen will listen and she'll be like,
yeah, that's right. She'll be spewing. Yeah. She's actually the backbone of the mechanics of what we do. We can't survive. She's the backbone that we don't see.
Everyone's got a team behind the scenes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. But so for me, there's this business bent for sure. In terms of the strategy of what we do and how we do it and how to build the business. Have a great passion in terms of doing that, and the other is to help people, like we said before. Like I wouldn't stick around if we didn't have what I believe is the best product. Yeah. Because I don't do so. I guess I have a sales focus, but my sales pitch is: here's a product. These are the awesome things about it. If you like it, buy it. If you don't, that's okay. Yeah. Like I'm not I've never done a sales training course in my life or anything like that. There's no manipulation. It's just literally old school kind of, 1950s. This is it. If you want it, it's great. And I believe it's great for you, but that's it. There's no more than that. And so, there's really that sort of side which helps me. So I need the good product. I need to believe in what we do, which I do, in terms of doing that. And then I need it to actually be relational. I need to be able to relate to them all. And so, I
think it's really powerful. Like, one thing that really shits me is people that tie who they are, what they earn, all this stuff to the job they've chosen. Like, at the end of the day, if you're passionate about something, you'll make a good living and a good income and be successful. Like, it doesn't matter what education you got or
you
where
find
you've come from. Like,
the best businesses are about serving people, and the money is an outcome.
Passion.
It's an outcome of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so your passion, whatever that is, in terms of how you apply that, is actually to serve people in some way. In terms of how you do that, it might depend. But in this particular case, you're building better buildings. You're helping people on that journey. You're getting them better outcomes. You're serving those people in that way. You're serving the people that work for you too, in terms of the job satisfaction and building better things. All of those things. You do that, and the money's the outcome. Of actually doing that, of actually focusing in that manner, that passion.
100%. Whereas most people focus it the other way around.
Yeah, they try and get the money and it never works.
Yeah.
So,
you mentioned air changes. I need to go and look into this more. I've been doing a few courses recently. Again, just to expand my knowledge on HRV units, and like I went and did the Seabell. Is it Seabell?
Yep, Seabell
training day, and been doing some healthy home courses and things. What is there a National Construction Code amount of air changes?
Not yet.
Because I was told at one of these training sessions that there is a maximum air change in Australia
of 10. That's to do with NatHERS, the rating scheme. They set a borderline in the back end of the testing, essentially, and the computer system is 10 air changes, and that's what they base it off. Our understanding, Jesse, the lead scientist, building scientist with Proclima Australia, he sits on the board with the NCC, doing all this change and management stuff and how NCC is happening. The conversation is that air tightness is already in the NCC. It's about what it will be on the next NCC, but worldwide there are targets of air tightness. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when air tightness is a requirement
I've been
in
thinking
our
about
NCC.
asking some of our past clients if I can go and do a blower door test, because I feel like one of the, like I said before, I'm still sitting on the fence with the passive house. But I love how with passive house, like you basically have a rule book, and you know that if you do this, you'll get this outcome.
Guaranteed outcome.
And I think the rest of the building industry really fails because, like, there's no data there. So like if they come out and say, hey, well, you can't have any more than 10 air changes, how will I know how to achieve that if I haven't tested some of my past builds and got some indication about what we did, what we used, how we got there?
Well, it won't be, when it comes in, it won't be 10 anyway. Like it'll be a lot lower than that.
It'll be more likely 5 to 8.
Yeah, but whatever it is,
3.
like there's going to have to be something,
and understanding
some
of
sort
how
of
to achieve that.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the window manufacturers being good, because felt seals and dodgy sliding doors are not going to be able to comply anymore. Right. And that's going to, but I could say that if you do a full, complete external building wrap, not just an internal wrap, to achieve the NCC requirement, you will meet and exceed the air tightness.
I actually think it's easier than what, like, a lot of people freak out and think it's going to be.
I did a blower door test a week and a half ago for a builder in Melbourne, and they just did an external wrap, so slab, stuck it onto the side of the slab, up the walls, and across the roof, fully wrapped.
First time
they've ever done it, a blower door, just a double glazed UBVC, not a high performance like super special windows, like I could see the sky through some of the joins and stuff, right? But they got to 2.2 air changes, like, which is a super tight building. Like, it's a good building in that way. But you have to, there's also the build tight but ventilate right.
Yeah.
So ventilation comes a key part. But you've got systems like Mitsubishi. They make a ducted aircon with an add-on mechanical ventilation.
Yeah,
there.
I think there's a couple of them doing it.
Yeah, they're all bringing it out because they know that the industry's moving that way.
Yeah.
Worldwide it already is. It's just we're just...
Because that's the other side of it. Like, at what level do you have to put mechanical ventilation in?
It's recommended under 5 air changes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The recommendation, I think, is 3 to 5. In Europe, under 3 you have to, but the recommendation, I think, is 3 to 5 that you should in terms of doing that. And there's a question too around, like, say you were talking about heating and cooling there with a HRV and how that works, that once you get to that point, when you put a HRV in, because they're so efficient, you know, in terms of bringing air in from the outside, if we can maybe have a chat about that in a separate time. Do you want to talk about HRVs as well?
Yeah, go for it.
So the base of HRV is obviously fresh air. You're trying to get fresh air into the building, but what they're doing in terms of if it's heat recovery ventilation, you can have other ventilation systems, but in terms of the most efficient way to do it is having a heat recovery one. And what that does is it changes the energy from the air that's inside the house and puts that energy into the air that's coming in from the outside. And so let's say that let's say we're up in here in Brisbane, in your place or whatever, and it's summer, it's hot outside, it's 35 or something, and inside it's 21 because you've got the cooling on. And so it's drawing stale air from inside, that you've breathed and all of that kind of stuff.
So and it's extract from your kitchen, bathrooms, toilets.
It's taking that, pushing it outside the building, and it's bringing air in from the outside, fresh air, and what it does is as it crosses, there's a heat recovery, and it takes the energy from the air inside and it converts it to the air outside. And so that air, now I think they're like 98, 99% efficient, something silly like that. And so that 35 degree air is now coming in at 22.
Yeah.
So you don't have to cool 35 degree air, you only have to cool 22 degree air.
Yeah.
And so your heating and cooling load in terms of the system that you have, I don't know the details, but there might be ones that we've seen that might be, I don't know, heating and cooling 60 grand or something for a house.
Yeah.
And now you put a heat recovery in, which is costly, it might be 20 grand or something like that. But you've dropped with the wraps, obviously, because you need the wraps and then you have the HRV, but then you've dropped your heating and cooling to maybe 15 because you don't have the load anymore because you've created this.
Yeah. But aren't you also doing, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't you also not, like, instead of, you might have needed a 26 or 28 kilowatt aircon unit, you're now using like a couple of little split systems.
That's what I mean.
Exactly.
The actual heating and cooling, not the ongoing cost in terms of the actual system is reduced.
Instead of like 2 multi-head systems or 2 ducted systems being 28 kilowatts, you could have one.
Yeah.
I've done quite a lot of high-performance homes that I wrap and insulate well, do good quality windows, and we're putting in maybe 12 kilowatt as a ducted split into a 30, 35 square house, right?
Yeah.
My house, as a passive house, again, that goes to that different level. My house runs on a 2 kilowatt split system. It's a 22 square house.
Yeah.
A 2 kilowatt split system. That's the heating and cooling for the whole house.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely worth people having, like, learning more and having more education about this. And can we go back and talk about mould a little bit? Oh, we touched on it at the beginning.
So sexy. We should definitely talk about mould.
But like, mould is getting talked about now. Like, that's pretty much why a lot of these NCC changes have come in.
Yeah. Well, now it's in the NCC and it's a requirement to the builder to manage mould.
Yeah. And I honestly think, like, it amazed me. You get the emails, like, in Queensland here, it's QBCC, Master Builders, like, they put on these information evenings and you go and they tell you what's going on, and like, there might be lucky to be 100 builders there.
Yeah.
Like people aren't keeping up with what's going on, and then it's not something you can just turn a blind eye to.
Yeah.
Because mould is terrible for our health.
Yeah.
I'm currently doing the Zara Dakota's Healthy Home Mastermind course. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The products you put into our homes and condensation.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge. So your product does help a lot with condensation, doesn't it? Like, it allows the house to breathe.
That's right. It's getting rid of all of the issues around mold or condensation in conjunction with a ventilation unit, essentially. They're the two that you wrap tight, ventilate right. You just, when you do wrap tight, you ventilate, but that means you're getting rid of that moisture-rich air from your shower, from cooking, from being in the house. Like, a normal house with 4 occupants produces 200 litres of water a week. That's from your steam. You could see it if you're in a badly ventilated apartment with no fan, right? And you turn your shower on, it's almost dripping from the ceiling, right? And that's just one shower, let alone your heating unit or anything like that. So when you're talking about that amount of air, you're going to get mold because it forms, right? So getting rid of that by having ventilation, but then we're stopping moisture getting into our wall cavities, and we're managing the air coming into the house that it's not moisture rich or anything like that, through building tight and wrapping right. Then that's how you manage moisture and mold condensation.
Yeah.
So it changes from climate zone to climate zone, and so that's one of the keys, and why maybe you haven't gone into detail around, we should use this product or that product, because it changes, but it's the system that matters. And so you have that weather tight layer, which is actually managing moisture down in Melbourne. It would be as per the model that's sitting here that we'll see later in the video, another plug. And you'll see that in winter again you've got that moisture pressure inside to out, so you want it to be open and making sure that moisture can get through the insulation layer and get out through that. And then in summer it's relatively dry, so you've got no real moisture coming in terms of, because the moisture pressure is the other way, but it's a relatively dry climate. Now so that product's okay, but when you come up north, basically it's probably anywhere just about past mid New South Wales or somewhere like that, where that changes, and so you have very moist summer in the air, very
humidity,
huge amount of humidity. And so now in summer, when it's warm outside, cold inside, you've got moisture pressure going in, you've actually got moisture trying to get into the house in the air. And so we're not talking about rain or anything like that. Obviously that happens, but we've got that covered because it's monolithic again and all of that. But when that moisture is trying to get in, then you have the same system but different product. So you have a different wall membrane that's used in that, or a different roof, etc. But it does the same thing. So you're protecting, depending on your climate zone, you still have the same essential system that does that in terms of how that works. There might be some small tweaks and things like that in some specific areas. If you head way up north, past Cairns, etc., where they're doing stuff with cyclonic stuff, and they're fully bracing buildings, all the way around and stuff like that. The Intello, so the internal air tightness layer, which we haven't gone too much into, but that's a smart layer. So at times it's an absolute vapor blocker, so it doesn't allow any through, but then it changes to diffusion open to allow inward drying, so that actually other times of the year, the moisture that is in the insulation layer can actually come into the house and get dealt with by the HRV. Something we didn't mention before. The HRV doesn't just do the temperature, it does humidity. So that's actually taking care of the humidity in the air.
Because humidity is something that no one talks about, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct.
You've got to manage your humidity.
Yeah. So in that place inside, and that's why it's really we're hand in pocket with HRV. Do you know what I mean? We don't sell HRVs or anything like that, but the reality is that there's so many good things about them in terms of what they do. The air quality inside is so much better because the humidity is taken out, the mold risk is decreased or expelled completely in terms of doing that with a good membrane. You can't just have the HRV, it doesn't work. You almost need both in hand, but when you do that, it minimises then your prime cost of your heating and cooling, etc., like we talked about before. There's all these things, and so if you look at the system together, that's what the key is. And so yes, in terms of managing moisture, condensation and the effect, mold, etc., depending on climate zone, obviously reach out. Performance membranes, that's www.membranes.build, or performance membranes Oz or something on Instagram.
As a builder, right, we look at the build and we might be in a bushfire zone, right? So we know we have to look at the code, and we have to be like, where does it land for BAL 19 or BAL 29, etc., flame zone, right? So we've learnt that as builders, we understand that method. We're almost learning now, okay, we have to learn about climate zones and how moisture is affecting our buildings. So we're delving a little bit deeper into our climate zones now, and it's going to become, in 3 years' time or 4 years' time, we'll be like, how come we didn't talk about climate zones previously or anything like that? But it's just another, string in our bow as a professional industry of builders, where you have to know that we're not just set and forget. You have to be upskilling, you have to be changing, you have to be learning through this, listening to different people to how to do things better.
I think the timing's right. Like there is so many people, like you only got to look on Instagram, and like there is so many incredible passionate tradesmen, builders that are putting information and knowledge out there, and talking about mistakes and learnings and all those types of things. So, look, I take my hat off to you guys for getting it out there. Like, I think the timing's right. Like, so how do people find you? Like, obviously Melbourne, you're big. What's the go in Queensland? Like,
yeah, so we'll have stock on the ground here any day in terms of there, so you'll be able to pick that up locally or whatever.
So this podcast probably won't go out till possibly even early 24.
Yeah, so that's okay. So there'll be stock on the ground.
There'll be stock on the ground.
There'll be stock on the ground. Yeah. So we'll be essentially commuting for a time. We're both Devin and I both have family here in Queensland, etc. And so we've decided we're going to do rock paper scissors to see who gets to be here permanently. But obviously that's the market here. What we will do is you'll be able to get. So we'll do install training. We'll set up a facility to do that here. We'll be able to come out to site, check details, etc. We're always available to do that anyway. I mean, the first. I'm trying to remember 8, maybe 10 months of the job. So I started in the second year of COVID. Now I know that didn't affect you at all in terms of going to work, but it affected us in Melbourne. And so I think the first 8-10 months I didn't see a soul in the business in terms of doing that. So we can definitely help, in terms of doing that. But yeah, we'll come up regularly. We'll be here. We'll be boots on the ground, and that's the key, I think, in terms of doing that. In terms of level of service, product readily available, etc. But definitely in Melbourne, if you're down there, we have an install training facility that's permanently set up down in Knoxfield in the east of Melbourne. We have a couple of warehouses there that you can get product from. Our website is www.membranes with an S, membranes.build. Yes, that's all it is. Membranes.build.
That's it.
There's no .coms or .aus. We're so trendy. We have a .build. And so you can find us there. Instagram is...
Performance Membranes AU is the handle
and
on
so
Instagram.
You can see all of our stuff there.
And that's really like agriculturally run by myself, but it's, I would say, at this stage, and that's really though a brains trust of like, how would I do a roof? Check out the highlights, check out the photos. It's like all these shared ideas from guys like Sanctum Homes, MVH, Brad from Sanford, these backman builders, guys who are like, I call it like leading the charge on making change in the industry and doing things really well.
I'm keen to meet that Brad from Sanford.
Yeah.
He's all right.
He's in Zara's he's in Zara's mastermind I'm doing. He talks like he's so knowledgeable. He's doing that hemp house or just finished that hemp house.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. So guys like that, it's shared a lot of knowledge from them on how to do a connection detail and that sort of thing. So it's not something that's, polished, but it's something that like I've done 350 odd people in the last 3 months through our training facility. And that's a class of 12 people at a time. Right. So, but it's the hands-on, getting the experience, and we'll set that up in Bris too. But it's a matter of learning it, and then you might not come to a window for 3 or 4 months as builders, right? But it's like, how do we do that at the training again? It's like, jump on the Instagram, look at the Windows highlight reel, and it'll just refresh your memory sort of thing. Or if you're not sure, I didn't have that when I built my house. And it was painful, so I'd rather share that knowledge so people can be like, it's achievable, how would I do it? Let's smash that out. That makes sense.
Yeah. No, look guys, I really appreciate your time. It's an absolute cracker. I'm pretty confident our listeners got a lot of knowledge out of it, and hopefully your phones start going crazy and more people get on board with this stuff. But keep doing what you're doing. I'm really keen to see where you take this, and hopefully I look forward to driving around in Queensland and seeing a lot more homes with your product on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Cheers, guys.
Pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Are you ready to build smarter, live better, and enjoy life? Then head over to livelikebuild.com/elevate to get started.
Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Dwayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.